You know, funny, I told everybody I was going to Big Bear today, and they're like, oh my gosh, there's a killer on loose.
He has a great deal of training and experience using both offensive and defensive tactics.
It sounded like one shot fired from inside the residence.
Copy, one shot fired from inside the residence. Confirming you still want fire to roll in?
Going to continue searching until either we discover that he left the mountain or we find him, one of the two.
I think it is a scary situation. Who's next? You know, you don't know.
Okay, brace yourself for this one. A former LAPD officer, decorated Navy vet, college educated, top of his class, goes completely off the grid and then shows up on the news for killing cops. But here's the thing, he warned everyone it was coming. In his own words, he wrote, "I will bring unconventional and asymmetrical warfare to those in LAPD uniform. You will now live the life of the prey." This guy didn't just flip out one day, he believed the system chewed him up, spit him out, and covered its tracks. So he started writing, planning, and ultimately hunting. It started with a couple in a car and ended with one of the biggest manhunts in California history.
A city in fear is fighting back, offering a $1 million reward for Dorner's capture and conviction.
We're talking about drones in the sky, cops guarding their own families, civilians shot by mistake, and a standoff in a burning cabin. But here's the twist. Some people read that manifesto and didn't disagree with all of it. This isn't just some rogue officer story. This is about what happens when someone believes the people sworn to protect us are the ones hiding the truth, and decides to burn the whole system down. So how does a guy go from wearing the LAPD badge to literally declaring war on the department? It all starts in 2007. Christopher Dorner was still fresh in the force, just a rookie. He had gone through the academy, done military service, had a spotless record, but then something happened on a routine call that changed everything. He and his training officer, Teresa Evans, were responding to a call about a man causing a disturbance at a hotel. The guy was reportedly mentally ill. Now here's where the story split. Dorner claimed he saw his training officer, a fellow cop, kick the man in the face while he was already handcuffed. He filed a report on her. That's a big deal in law enforcement. You're basically breaking the blue wall of silence. But when Internal Affairs looked into it, they said Dorner was lying. They said the force used was appropriate, that the guy had actually resisted arrest, and that Dorner's story didn't add up. And just like that, Dorner was charged with making a false report. Now here's the part that really set him off. He gets fired, his entire career gone. And in his mind, not because he messed up, but because he told the truth. He tried to appeal the decision, went through months of hearings, but every appeal got denied. Final verdict, termination. In his manifesto he writes, "The department retaliated against me for exposing brutality. They made an example out of me." And he didn't just stop there. He listed every officer, every judge, every name he believed had a hand in destroying his life. Now whether you believe his story or not, here's the key thing to understand. That moment, getting fired, wasn't just about losing a job. To him, it was losing his identity. He was no longer a cop, no longer a protector. And in his eyes, he wasn't just let go, he was betrayed. And that betrayal, it didn't fade with time. It grew for years, quietly, until it exploded. So after he got fired, Christopher Dorner didn't immediately turn violent. He didn't disappear off the grid. In fact, for a while, he just kind of waited. But that waiting, it started to twist into something darker. He tried to move on. He appealed the decision, filed lawsuits, reached out to media. Nothing worked. Every door slammed shut. And here's what's important. This wasn't just about a lost paycheck. This dude built his whole identity around serving. Navy reservist, police officer, protector, and suddenly, all of that was gone. And the way he saw it, the people who fired him didn't just take his job. They lied to protect one of their own. That thought kept looping in his mind over and over like a broken record. Now, if you've ever known someone who's been unfairly labeled something they're not, especially in public, you know that messes with your mind. And in Dorner's case, it started eating him alive. He felt like the system he trusted had turned on him. He isolated himself, stopped talking to friends, grew paranoid, and according to the people around him, something started to shift. He wasn't just angry anymore, he started acting like a man on a mission. That's when the manifesto started taking shape. Not just a rant, we're talking 6,000 plus words of names, dates, specific people he blamed. Cops, judges, attorneys. And here's the scary part. He wasn't rambling. He was calm, calculated, and direct. Like he was checking off a list. By now, he wasn't just thinking about justice. He was thinking about revenge. And in his mind, he was at war. February 1st, 2013. Dorner finally snaps. But here's the twist. He doesn't go after LAPD officers right away. Number he starts with someone symbolic. Monica Kwan and her fiancé, Keith Lawrence. They were found shot dead in their car in Irvine.
To this low Sunday night. The shooting spree began about a week ago when Monica Kwan and her fiancé were shot to death in a parking lot. An alleged execution by Dorner, who was angry at Kwan's father, a former Los Angeles police captain.
To have your family targeted because they're related to you, that is absolutely terrifying.
ABC News has learned that a man claiming to be Dorner has called Kwan's father to taunt him, telling the grieving dad he should have done a better job protecting his daughter.
Just parked in a garage. No struggle, no robbery, just executed. Here's where it hits hard. Monica was the daughter of Randall Kwan, the LAPD captain who represented Dorner in his disciplinary hearing, the guy who tried to help him keep his job and failed. This wasn't random, this was a message. Dorner wanted the LAPD to know that he was done talking, done appealing. He wanted them to feel fear. At this point, nobody really knows what's happening. 2 people dead, no suspect, no motive. But then, 3 days later, the manifesto drops. Dorner emails and faxes a 6,000-word document to news outlets, law enforcement, and celebrities. In it, he claims full responsibility for the murders. Not only that, he declares war on LAPD officers, their families, and anyone he believes helped ruin his life. This wasn't a cry for help. This was a kill list. He names names, judges, detectives, officers, even their families. The LAPD didn't just have a rogue ex-cop on their hands. They had a trained shooter with a plan and a deep, burning vendetta. So once the manifesto hit the inboxes of local media, the LAPD knew they weren't dealing with just a rogue ex-cop. They were dealing with a trained killer who had declared open war. This kicked off one of the biggest manhunts in California history. Over 50 law enforcement agencies, 1,000 plus officers, and a $1 million reward. At the time, the largest in LAPD's history. The moment Dorner's manifesto went public, panic swept through the department. His hit list wasn't vague. It had names, judges, detectives, high-ranking LAPD brass, even their families. The LAPD didn't just put officers on alert, they sent patrols to guard their homes. Cops started moving their families into hotels. Some kids were pulled out of school, and meanwhile, Dorner was still out there. They launched a statewide tactical alert. That meant all available officers, even off-duty ones, were activated. SWAT teams were mobilized. Roadblocks popped up across SoCal. Air support was non-stop. February 7th, 1:30 a.m. Dorner strikes again. 2 Riverside police officers ambushed while waiting at a red light. Officer Michael Crane didn't stand a chance. Dorner walked up with a rifle and opened fire.
February 7, 2013, Tackius had only been on the police force for about 2 months when he, along with partner Michael Crane, were ambushed by rogue ex-LAPD cop Christopher Dorner.
And as we're driving towards Magnolia, kind of just joking around a little bit with each other.
You can see a quick flash.
The next thing I remember is us being shot.
Moments later, a taxicab driver, a good Samaritan, came over to help.
I could see him kind of reaching towards my body, and I was assuming it's to grab the microphone mic, so I directed him to the car mic, and he held it up to my mouth for me, and I was able to get help.
1199, we're on Mag and Arlington. Officer shot multiple times.
But while Tackius would survive, partner Michael Crane would not.
I had an idea things weren't looking good because I turned to him in the car and asked if he was all right, and I didn't get a response.
Tackius was shot 9 times that night, but he continued to fight.
I was just bleeding out, and it was more of a mental game than a physical one for me.
This wasn't random. This was deliberate, calculated, military-style execution. The city snapped. Officers were now being gunned down without warning. Morale tanked. Tension peaked, and it got worse. In their desperation, LAPD opened fire on innocent civilians who they thought might be Dorner.
Of mistaken identity, 2 innocent women shot, nearly killed by LAPD officers looking for ex-cop Christopher Dorner. Tonight, Police Chief Charlie Beck says his officers are to blame. NBC4's Beverly White tells us their punishment is imminent.
1 year after the murder spree of ex-LAPD cop Christopher Dorner, Police Chief Charlie Beck says 8 LAPD officers faced discipline for firing more than 100 rounds at 2 innocent.
One was a 71-year-old woman delivering newspapers. Over 100 bullets were fired into her truck. The public backlash, immediate. Lawsuits, protests. Suddenly, the hunters looked unhinged. It was clear, LAPD wasn't just losing control of the streets, they were losing the narrative. Then Dorner vanished, tips flooded in, San Diego, Las Vegas, the Mexican border, even Big Bear. Every day, a new confirmed sighting. But every time police arrived, nothing. Why? Because Dorner wasn't just running, he was strategically messing with them, planting false leads, ditching gear, staying 2 steps ahead. I know your techniques, tactics, and procedures. Any threat assessments you generate will be useless. He disabled license plate readers by switching plates. He abandoned his wallet in places on purpose. He even used hotel Wi-Fi accounts under aliases to confuse tracking efforts. The psychological warfare wasn't just aimed at officers, it was aimed at the public, the press, and the system itself. It all ends in the mountains, 80 miles from Los Angeles. Quiet, frozen, isolated. Big Bear was the perfect place to vanish. And for nearly a week, that's exactly what Dorner did. After the killings in Irvine and Riverside, Dorner disappears. The entire West Coast is on edge. LAPD assigns officers to protect 50-plus families he named in the Manifesto. Cops are sleeping in squad cars. Celebrities and politicians are under armed guard. There were sightings, rumors, false alarms, but nothing real until February 12th. A report comes in, someone broke into a vacation cabin, tied up the homeowners, stole their car. Sheriff's deputies locate the vehicle. It's Dorner. A shootout erupts. He flees into a nearby cabin. This time, he's cornered. Inside the cabin, Dorner opens fire with a .308 sniper rifle and other weapons. Officers are pinned, windows shattered, bullets ripping through walls. Detective Jeremiah McKay is shot and killed during the exchange. He's a 15-year veteran, father of 2. By now, all of America is watching. Helicopters circle, SWAT teams surround the cabin. The media turns it into a spectacle. Authorities deploy tear gas, burners as they call them. The structure catches fire, live, on television. People are stunned.
At the very beginning of the shootout, you can hear authorities near the phone talking about burning Dorner out of the cabin he was holed up in.
Burn that out! Get going right now! Burn this.
Over the next 3 hours, authorities brought in reinforcements, armored vehicles, more SWAT teams, and this battering ram, which authorities told me at the scene, would be used to deploy a powerful form of tear gas, also known as a burner, into the cabin. The burner gives off intense heat, which often causes a fire. Recordings of police scanners during the final assault confirmed their plan.
We're going to go forward with the plan with the burner. Like we talked about. 7 burners deployed and we have a fire.
Despite those recordings, the day after the shootout, San Bernardino County Sheriff John McMahon insisted
that it was not on purpose. We did not intentionally burn down that cabin to get Mr. Dorner out.
Did they mean to kill him? Was this revenge or just police protocol? No one comes out. Later, investigators find charred remains in the basement. Next to them, a handgun. 1 round fired through the skull.
The information that we have right now seems to indicate that the wound that took Christopher Dorner's life was self-inflicted.
Coroner says self-inflicted gunshot wound. That scanner audio? It explodes online. Civil rights advocates and Reddit detectives dissect every word. LAPD and San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office say, no, the fire wasn't intentional. Burners were standard protocol. The cabin was old, wood-framed. The fire was an accident. But not everyone bought it. In the end, the man who launched a war against the LAPD died alone, burning, in a cabin at the top of the world. But the way it ended, the chaos, the media circus, the scanner audio, the unanswered questions, that became a story of its own. For some, it was justice. For others, a cover-up